What's up, Pr1ma? It's Prima with the Just Prima Show. Tonight, you're going to see the continuation of my interview with my friend Rosolo the Phoenix. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
So now with the children being knockers, they knocked on your doors, right? And all of you have been arrested. Your 4 boys, your grandmother, and yourself. How long did you spend in jail?
Just overnight for myself.
Overnight. How long did your grandmother spend?
Overnight.
And your sons?
Years.
Because of this particular situation?
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about, you spent overnight. Why are your sons spending years?
Because they were the ones that were the actual accused.
So she specifically accused your sons of kidnapping her?
Correct. Once we got to court.
All 4 of them?
Correct.
The entire crew?
Correct.
Okay. And so all 4 of your boys go away?
Yes.
For how long?
Years. We were back and forth for years. One son took a plea because of the police at 17 in Georgia. You don't have to call the parents. You can talk to the children. I feel like scare them and get them to take pleas, and then taking pleas. That's what he did at 17 and went away to prison right after he turned 18 for 4 years with 11 years probation, which just ended this year.
And then the other 3? Where are they? So he's out now. You're that young one that took
Correct.
the plea?
The oldest one. Mm-hmm. He's out.
The other 3?
The other 3 have been in juvenile and group homes and juvenile and later prison, jail.
So you got out within a day. Of course, you have to go to court and everything. You go through trial. The boys get convicted. What do you do during that time when the boys are convicted?
During that time, I spent a lot of time alone, a lot of time by myself because no one in my circle understood what I was going through. So that was another lonely walk. I angry with God. I was able to spend time with a friend that I had dated previously, and dating him, he was a safe space for me, mm-hmm. and someone that was encouraging when the world was discouraging, so to speak. And I was being, judged or feeling like maybe I had failed as a mother. Getting with him, being able to talk and be transparent. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we decided that we would get married, got married, had another son with him. Eventually, he encouraged me to leave the state because of his job. And leaving the state would give me a break from visiting jail, juvenile, group home.
So you were going back and forth between the boys at this time every week?
Correct. So he was
because all 4 of them are somewhere at this point. Are any of them in the same institution, or there's 4 different institutions? At
one point, initially, 2 of them were in the same place, and then eventually they were in 4 different places.
And you were going to each of these every week?
Yes.
And so the person that you married said, "Okay, I'm going to remove you from this in the need to heal, maybe to get away, take a breath."
Right. That's what he felt.
But how did you feel? Because I want to go to survival. Mm-hmm. Prima, right? Mm-hmm. The Prima that did everything within her power to make sure she took care of her sons. Mm-hmm. So now Prima is being told, "Let's leave the state," and your sons are incarcerated. Mm-hmm. What's your first reaction to that?
No, because he left in August, and I didn't leave until I didn't agree to leave till like February, mm-hmm. and I didn't officially transfer my job until the following June.
So you resisted?
Correct.
You didn't want to leave your sons?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I was all they had, like the constant.
Did they know you were leaving?
They did before I left. They didn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't like that.
And so you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You go to another state. You're
And
married.
I came home every weekend for the first 5-6 months until it started snowing. And they didn't want me driving over the mountain because at this point I get pregnant with the second son with that husband. And
so
they were
you're
concerned
pregnant,
about safety.
Yep, driving back and forth.
Correct.
And at this time, as we talk about your mom so much through the conversation, your mom moves in with you at this point, right?
Well, I asked my mom to come for me to have the second son.
Right.
And I was like, Mom, I want you to be here when I have the baby while I'm on maternity leave. You know, it'll be wonderful, blah, blah, blah. I wanted my grandmother to come because she cooked like down home cooking, and my mama was going to be the one to do the baby and clean up and let
you just want to be pampered for a minute and rest. Right.
So that's when my mom came. And while she was here, it was great. It was there. It was great. It was wonderful. We were able to talk and spend time together, talk about her childhood more, talk about her choices and mates. We were able to talk as women, grown women. Mm-hmm. And although we had a relationship from 30 to 40, now I'm 39, getting ready to turn 40. And we watched Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. We watched The Preacher's Daughters and all that stuff. That's how far back it was. So it was good to have that time with my mom. When my baby was 9 months, the one that she came for me to have, when he was 9 months, my mother said she wasn't feeling well. She saw her some things had changed. She went to the doctor, and going to the doctor, I work in the medical field at this time, so she called and was like, hey, they're gonna admit me to the hospital and keep me overnight because they think I have cancer. And I was like, cancer from that? Where did they get that from? So later on, found out that it was pancreatic cancer. And looking it up, we were told that it was, once it spread, because it spread to her liver, that it was stage 4 and that her time would not be long. And so that was like the hardest time, probably harder than my children. That was harder because I had always prayed. I'd always prayed that I lived longer than my mom and my grandmother, and I didn't feel like I could live without her, or that I even wanted to live without her.
You pray you live longer or shorter?
That I live shorter, and that they live longer than me.
Okay.
Because I didn't think I could take them transitioning before me.
And so your mom transitions?
13 weeks after we found out. Mm-hmm.
That's normally, I know the feeling. So your mom transitions from pancreatic cancer.
And I just turned 40. So I do want to say this. I learned that, 40 is the end of a cycle. And I thought that my world and my life and my family was, I thought we were all down like 4 flat tires. We was going to ride this together, my sister, my uncles, my grandmother, and we're going to do this, and we're going to kumbaya and make it through this. But what I was told was that, Prima, you're the strong one always. You're going to have to ride this by yourself. So that was a lonely ride by myself.
Ride what by yourself?
Taking care of my mother, being there for my mother, watching her transition, planning her service.
You did all that by yourself?
Correct.
You have siblings?
I do.
You do?
I do.
You just, because I remember you saying you were the eldest.
Correct.
And how many siblings do you have?
By my mother, I have 2.
2. Okay. And you were the only one that took care of your mom?
My brother has a life sentence, so he is incarcerated, which is another part of my story. My sister had children, and she said that she was unable to handle that at the time.
So you're the most logical choice at this point.
Correct.
With your 6 children.
Yes.
And your marriage.
Yes.
And 4 of your sons incarcerated.
Yes.
Okay. So you take care of your mom. We do what we do.
Yes.
What a survivor does.
Yes.
And so you take care of your mom, and the 13 weeks pass. You get through it. You move on. God didn't answer your prayer.
Well, my prayer began to be, God, let me accept the will.
Good. Because, you asking to be, leave before, transition before your parents.
Right.
God probably looked at her like, girl,
that was
please.
As a kid. Yeah. But once it happened, it was like I just wanted to accept God's will and her will. Yeah. So I began to get peace with it before she transitioned.
Good. And so she's transitioned. Mm-hmm. You still have 2 young babies in the home now. Mm-hmm. You still have 4 sons incarcerated. You still have a new marriage. How's Prima right now?
Angry. I was angry. I was angry at God. I was angry at my mom. I was I didn't, no place felt like home. So I was driving 4 hours. I could drive 4 hours from Tennessee right now, and then I'm frustrated with what's going on with my sons, and I drive 4 hours back to Tennessee all in one day. I could be at home, and the kids, the little kids and my husband mess up, and oh, I'm leaving. I get in my car and drive back to Georgia. I sleep in my car. Like no place felt like home. I just was in another lonely place.
You missed your mom.
A lot, because that was the constant.
Mm-hmm. You had no constant right now.
Correct.
Felt a little disheveled.
Correct.
How'd you get back your mojo? Well, let's
Back
talk
into
about
survival.
Back into survival. Well, I want to talk about, okay, because you have a husband watching you go through this stuff right now, right? And most often with marriages, when a husband struggles watching their wife go through that, not only you driving back and forth for 4 hours, you're crazy. Most husbands wouldn't even let you do that, right? So how is this person handling your actual grief? Because that's what you're dealing with. You're grieving your mom's passing. How is he handling you and that sporadic behavior?
Well, initially, he said he didn't understand because that's not anything he had been through. He didn't have the answers. He couldn't make it right, but he was just present. That's what he said.
Right.
I'm not a person that's easily controlled.
No.
So,
I would have thought.
so since I'm not easily controlled, I mean, he could say, you know, are you sure you want to leave, or maybe you need to stay, and da-da-da. But once I make up my mind to do something, then I'm just going to do it. I'm not afraid of much. So I was like, I'm going to drive and I'm going to be all right, you know. And I was in a place that he was unfamiliar with. So it wasn't a lot. And I was in a place that I was unfamiliar with because, again, the only constant in my life was my mother, not a father. My grandmother, who had been constant, when she told me that she couldn't help me with her daughter, she became unconstant, inconsistent in my life. So it was just a different place. So you just had to accept Prima just being Prima.
And so you're going through this process of grieving and trying to get through it. And at some point you decide to move back to Georgia.
Correct.
What made you decide to move back?
Well, my husband was a musician and he traveled. And being in Tennessee, I didn't have family there. I had now a 1-year-old and a son that's turning 5. I had to go back to work because I took off work for about 5 months because I couldn't work either. And I remember my son starting kindergarten, my baby crying, trying to get to the sitter, and my baby throwing up in the car, and I'm knocking on the door at the sitter, nobody's answering, and then finally some dude comes to the door and he's high, and I'm like, I can't leave my baby. So I called my supervisor and I was like, I may not be able to come back. And this was like when we first voted Obama in the second time, when we voted him in second. So I was like, I got to move back to Georgia. And or else I'm not going to have a job. And I started putting in bids to come back, sent my children, my younger children, back to Georgia with my older children that had made it home and my grandmother and whatever family until I could get a transfer back to Georgia.
Because now sons are home. Sons are...
2 of them.
2 of them are home, okay. And they're with your grandmother?
Those 2, one wasn't and one was.
Okay.
And I had that support system. So my husband at this point comes back to Georgia because it's easier. And then I just had to wait to get a transfer here, which happened in February. My mom died July.
Okay. And so you moved back to Georgia before your mom passed?
After. She passed July.
And then you move in February?
Correct.
Okay, you did it backwards. Okay, so mom passes in July, and you moved to Georgia in February.
Back.
We're back to Georgia. 2 sons are out. You have the 2 younger babies. You're still married.
Correct.
Okay. And what happens next?
Life, being a mom. Now I have grandchildren. I'm excited about being back in Georgia, but the transition of having grown children who are now procreating themselves and the drama that comes with them and the baby mothers and the wives and all of that, I went through again dark, angry places because I wish my mom was here that could help me navigate through situations that I was unfamiliar with. I wind up establishing a relationship with my biological father that hadn't been present. And in establishing that relationship with him, moving closer to him, he winded up again being deceptive and taking money and things that he shouldn't have, which caused me to be pushed away again. However, he got sick. I was able to be there for him for a while. He transitioned. I was there to handle his services, although I didn't feel like I should have. Me being who I am, the strong one, the one that handles things, I was left with that as well. And then being married with everything else, those were things that happened within the first couple of years of being back in Georgia.
So you hadn't known your father. How long was it after you reestablished your relationship with your father that he transitioned?
Like 2 years, year and a half.
Okay. And you were responsible for taking care of that as well?
Correct.
Okay. And then so he transitions. Now basically both of your parents have transitioned, both of your biological
Correct.
parents. And so you have the children, you have the marriage, you're a grandmother now.
Yes.
How's the family? How's the unit? How are y'all doing?
With everyone, I think coming back to Georgia became stressful on my marriage. I feel like my husband at the time felt like I was too close to my sons. I was too attached, more attached than he would have liked for me to be, because me being the mom that felt like in the situations with the sons that were able to come home, where I would go the extra mile, or I would go the extra mile for their children or their children's moms or whatever. Although he traveled a lot, I felt like it was okay because he traveled a lot. So I was typically the one at home by myself, and I didn't mind overextending myself. So that would probably be one of his gripes. Eventually, infidelity happened. That had happened once before, that I was aware of, that I could prove. And from that, we were already in this place. Like, we were in a place where we were trying to decide whether we were going to renew our vows. We had talked about renewing our vows in a few months, and going to counseling, and then life somehow happened. During that same time, my first husband that was incarcerated, that I have the 4 sons by, he was shot in the head, and I saw it on the news but didn't know that it was him. And now he's murdered. I have to talk to my mother-in-law, where she calls me to tell me, and now figuring out how to tell our 4 sons that their father is no longer with us, at the same time that I'm going through the challenges in my current marriage.
And what did your sons have a relationship with their father?
They had a relationship. I mean, they knew who he was. He was in and out. Like, if their words were, if he could have me, he was a part of their life. If he couldn't have me, then he wasn't as active. And that's what he told me as well. So they were aware. He was more of a friend when he was in and out of prison. So they had a relationship.
So he was still in and out of prison all this time?
Correct.
All these years after?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So he passes and you take, all right. So how do you feel then? Because now you've dealt with the loss of your mom, which you were grieving, you were angry. And then you have your biological father, who really wasn't a part of your life, but then, you meet him after 2 years, he transitions and you're responsible for that. And then you have your ex-husband, who we really know his part in your life, the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride, he dies very tragically, and now you have to explain to your 4 sons, and you also have to take care of that. So I ask you, how is Prima doing now?
Well, when my ex-husband was murdered, my focus went back to survival mode, and my current marriage, that I had already said infidelity was a deal breaker, is now on the back burner because I go back into survival mode. Survival meaning taking care of my sons and making sure they were good, and my grandchildren. But
why do you go to survival mode after your ex passes, when he wasn't really a part of taking care of you?
But for my children who were angry, they were hurt, they were mad, they wanted to find out what was going on, how it happened. My oldest son, who was quite close to his father, took it the hardest. So I feel like he went more into a depressed state. The younger son, who wanted a different relationship with his dad, was very angry, and I was not certain how his emotional state was.
So everybody's going through the grief process.
So my survival mode is, okay, I need to be the caregiver. I got to make sure everybody's good. So my situation back here wasn't as important because the deal had already been broken. So that wasn't a priority.
Because he had committed infidelity.
Correct.
So you focused on your children.
Correct.
Okay. And so what happens with the marriage?
We tried counseling like once. My opinion about my sons and my relationship with my sons was not going to change.
Okay, so what happens?
I filed for divorce, and we divorced.
And how are your sons now at this point? How are your sons with your husband?
My grown sons? Or my...
No, your grown sons.
At that point?
During the time when everything happened.
I feel like when he first came in, he was like a friend. He was a male, somebody around them that was more a friend. He was cool, somebody to play basketball, somebody to talk to him as much as he could, because he didn't have his father. So he was as much as he could be to them. When he did not always measure up in our relationship, like if they saw me being more active or me doing certain things, they felt some type of way because they felt like their mother was putting more into things than he was putting in, so it caused a strain. Once we moved back to Georgia, and there were differences made and comments made by him or them being aware of things that I wasn't always aware of, I began to see tension between them. And by the time their father transitioned, I was already in a different place, and they knew that, or they could see the change. Mm-hmm. So now they're in a better place, but that's years later.
Mm-hmm. So they get the divorce. You're on your own again with your sons, grandmother, survival. What are you doing now after the divorce?
Eventually I started dating again, dating someone that was a breath of fresh air, someone that felt, again, non-judgmental, someone that knew all that I came with, so to speak, because we had known each other for years. At the same time, my grandmother, who is older, who needed somewhere to stay, winded up staying with me, and that was a transition for me because I felt kind of resentful because she didn't do things the way I would have liked for her to do with her daughter and my mom. But me being who I am, and I'm always forgiving and trying to see every side of something, I took my grandmother in, which, because I am a loyal person and I'm a person that family is important, I took her in and I had her at my home because I wanted her to be safe. And my grandma was still somebody that was there for me as a teenager when I got pregnant, and was the one that was there for my children. So I felt like an obligation, and I felt like loyalty was the thing to do at the time, and I don't regret it. Eventually, she transitioned in my home as well, where I had to be there with her, taking care of her and making sure she was comfortable. It wasn't easy because I had to, have that talk with God and myself, and, because she told me to put my mom in hospice and let her die there. And I said at one point, oh, that's what I'm gonna do to you. But when it came down to it years later, I couldn't do that to her because I loved her and I know she loved me, so she just didn't handle things the way I wanted. So from that, she transitioned. Still in a relationship at that time. Still have my children. I have, again, 6 sons. I now have 12 grandchildren, 8 grandsons and 4 granddaughters. And I'm in a happy place. I like how I show up every day. I like looking in the mirror, who I see in the mirror. I did not initially want to tell my story this way, but here I am because I was writing a book.
So are you writing a book?
I am.
You are writing. You're in the process of writing a book.
Correct.
Okay.
But writing it in a different way because I was led by Spirit to do it this way first, revamp the book, and write different as I do the show.
And so congratulations when it comes out. Regarding your sons, grandmother of 12?
12.
So everyone, how are they?
My grandchildren.
No, your sons.
My
The first
sons,
four.
The first
I'm not
four.
focused on I know I keep on saying the first four, but there's a reason I focus. The last two, I love you too, but you understand why. So the first four, how are they? And are they all out?
No, they're not all out. The first four.
I just say, are they all home?
I mean, I think they're as good as they can be at the time. I think
Circumstances led to different situations
Right.
with them without us getting too much detail of their business. If you'd like to know more about them, then they'll come and interview and they'll do it for you.
Correct.
But circumstances, that one lie.
Changed our whole world.
That one lie.
Mm-hmm.
And changed the trajectory of those young men's lives.
Correct.
That's another story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story, too. It's one we experience often in our cycle of young black men.
Mm-hmm.
So now here's Prima. Just Prima. How do you feel?
At the moment, I feel good. I mean, I feel good. I feel that I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be.
Are you ready to tell your story? Because there is much more.
Right. I feel like I am. I feel like I'm being, obedient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I'm led to do, tell what I'm led to tell. I know that me sharing my story, the things that I went through was not just for me, and that there are other people out here that are experiencing things that may feel like they're alone, or they're ashamed, or they're embarrassed, or they don't have anyone to relate to. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm thankful that I never felt like it was the end. And I still don't feel like it's the end. I feel like, again, those are bumps in the road. That's just a part of my story. It's a part of my life. But again, it builds muscle. So for me, it's helped build muscle. So I feel good.
You feel good. I'm very proud of you. And I know it takes a lot to share this type of story. I wouldn't share mine. But I would. I'm lying. I share my story. But it takes a lot to share something like this. So there are a couple of things I want to do. One, I want to remind everyone that you said this. In 15 years, you've never had all your children in one place.
But once. Mm-hmm.
But once. For 4 hours. Mm-hmm. I remember that number.
Mm-hmm. 4 hours.
The person who struggled, who hustled, who stripped, who did everything she needed to do to take care of her sons, became a victim of a lie, and her family, and changed the whole trajectory of her. And I talk about her sons now because it's so profound, because it's 4 black men. Mm-hmm. But here you sit. We know you're watching, wherever you are. And I just want to say, continue to rise in your strength and your power and tell your story. What should people look for in Just Prima? Why would they tune in weekly to Just Prima? What's you going to give them? What you got for them?
I have all of me, my blood, love, and tears. Blood, love, and tears, literally. Mm-hmm. The good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the trials, the triumphs, some of the topics that I'll be discussing, besides the secrets the secrets of a home, how you think family is one way and it's something else, violations, sexual violations, relationships, religiosity in church, parenting, survival, to thine own self be true. I am a person that loves to talk and converse, and I'll talk about anything. I'll say anything. The things that people think that they're afraid to say, I'll say almost anything. So that is the joy. Like, I like to see the looks on people's eyes when they ask questions or when I say certain things. And sometimes I'll be like, well, do you really want to know the answer? So I'm looking forward to those moments. I might be happy. I'm learning not to use profanity on TV.
Yeah, we're rated sometimes.
Laughing, tears, all of that. So that's what I have to look forward to.
Laughing and tears? They're going to get tears too? Y'all are not getting any tears. let me tell you, you're not getting any tears. Just understand she's not giving you tears. She'll give you laughs. She'll give you truth. She'll give you transparency. You're not gonna get tears from her. But she gives you authenticity, and I appreciate that. You know, one of my favorite quote, as everyone knows, is for the Phoenix, is to be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. And you have truly been fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. And I'm honored to know you. I'm humbled to have me here with you tonight. I look forward to watching you week after week and learning more about you. I'm going to transition. Everyone, I'm Rosa the Phoenix. You can follow me on Instagram at Rosa the Phoenix. I am humbled to be here in Caribbean Life TV studios. Make sure you check out Just Prima every Wednesday at 8 p.m. But I'll hand it over to her to do the closing again. But I wish you all the success. I hope we covered your story the way that is pleasing to you. I hope we covered your story in a way that you wanted to provide the vision and the story to your audience. Do you have any final words for your audience?
My final words to the audience would be...
Wait, I have it better. What would you say to that young girl watching you right now? The one that, let's say she's 18 like us, right? Because we're both 18 as parents. And she's challenged, she's struggling. She could be crying, she could be watching right now. And she does not know what to do. And I'm not saying it's financial, it could be just mental. She could be fine. She could be with her mom and dad. But what people don't understand is when you're 18, you have a baby, it's way more than the support. It's what you have to go through mentally because you're 18 and having a baby. It's what people say about you and what you see them see in you or see through you when they don't really know you. It's the judgment that you see in them when they look at you and they don't really know you. So what would you say to those young ladies?
So to those young ladies, I would say it's what you answer to. It's how you feel about you, because like I was told, people are going to talk about you whether you're doing good or bad. Because we have children, or you've had a child at an early age, or you have disappointed yourself again, it's not the end. You're not the first and you won't be the last. There are so many resources out here and people that have gone through similar stories. They may not be as transparent, but you can email me at Prima, Prima @gmail.com, and I can help you find resources. But there are other people out here in your area. Love on yourself, figure out, read books and look online, because everything's online now, about self-love and being a parent. I found at 15 being pregnant how important it was for me to speak to my son in the womb, because how we carry them is also going to help determine who they turn out to be. So it's not just about us, it's about who else that we impact, and we're held accountable for the life that we bring here on earth. So I was convicted, and I hope that you're convicted to go on and see the rainbow in the storm and look for the shades of gray and know that life is not all black and white. And also to thine own self be true, because at the end of the day, you have to look in the mirror at yourself and be satisfied with who you are and how you show up. And it doesn't matter what other people think. And when you build that strength, then I think that you're winning. That's what I would say.
I always have more questions. I close and then I have more questions. I apologize. But would you do anything differently? Is there anything that you would have done differently when you look back at your life right now?
I probably would listen to my parents who said, stay a child. You got forever to work. You got forever to be a baby, have babies and get married and have relationships. So in that note, I'm going to go ahead and end and close, and again say thank you to my audience for viewing. Thank you for being present and taking time listening to my story. And if there's anyone that you know that might benefit from hearing my story, please ask them to subscribe on YouTube to Just Prima, Pr1ma, on YouTube, on Facebook, also on Caribbean Life TV, Just Prima. And also you can email me and I can answer questions at I'm just Prima, Prima at gmail.com. Thank you. Please tune in every Wednesday until further notice at 8 p.m. And I'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Rowe.
Thank you for having me.
Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. And to Prima's own self, I'm going to be true. Although me being comfortable makes other people uncomfortable. And Just Prima is about me, my life, my ups, my downs, my trials, my triumphs. It's me being encouraging, empowering, and inspiring. I will say anything, you don't know what will come out my mouth, so don't be surprised. All right, I'm back. It's Prima. First, I wanted to thank you for watching the interview with Miss Rozola the Phoenix. After watching the interview myself and sitting back doing some reflection and thinking, I wanted to share something else about my life. My family. This is something that I was inspired to do after my grandmother passed. I am her first grandchild, and she instilled a lot of things in me. And with that, I wanted to share things that are important. I was led to make a tree, and on this tree I have my mother's family, my maternal family, my paternal family, my adopted family. Eventually, I'm going to do a workshop to help people make their own family tree, but these are my ancestors that have transitioned on before me. And I have information on the back, like their names and when they were born, when they transitioned for some of them. I have I don't think you can see this, but that's my mother. This is my grandmother. So my mother's family is M for Murray. Then her father's is a S, which is why I have an S here. I also have an L over on that side for my biological father. And then I have C for my adopted father, the one that is my dad. So I just wanted to share that. I like candles. They're here as my inspiration. One, I stand on the shoulders of, and sometimes the heads, because they don't always agree. I'm sure in their spirit they don't always agree with me being me, but I appreciate them. During times of retrospect, I light my ancestor candle, and also a candle for protection. So I wanted to share that. In reflection on everything that I've shared, the name of my show, of course, is Just Prima. It's talking about me and my life. And the subtitle to my show is Blood, Love, and Tears. What I wanted to do, opposed to writing the book first, is to allow people to get to know Prima a little better. Since I'm new to social media, I'm new to the world. I wanted to share things that are important to me, things that are priority, which is God, my higher power, the creator. What's next important to me is my family. Family is first. After that, self-truth, being true to thine own self and being honest with who you are, where you're coming from. That's very, very important to me. Loyalty is important as well. Loyalty. I am big on forgiveness, learning that all of us come from something. We don't always make the right choices. We don't always do things ideally until we get into certain situations. And when we are in those situations, then we make the best decisions we can. What has worked for me beyond forgiveness is having a safe space to share, having, whether it's someone to vent to, because I don't do well when I hold things in, so having someone to vent to. I found group therapy a great resource for me. I found counseling a great resource for me, where I was able to talk and share and be myself and fuss and cuss and cry. I have learned another thing that I teach my children and I tell people all the time is that if we're born, the things that are guaranteed is change and death. Change is inevitable, and so is death. So I've learned to transition, survive, and I'm glad and thankful that through all of the changes and all the things that I've had to experience, that allowed me to show up today. And for years, I have been resilient. So I'm thankful for the resilience. I'm thankful for the experiences that I've had in life, because due to those experiences, it made me who I am. It built muscle, it built courage, it allowed me to sit, because I'm not a person that places blame. And this experience here is also helping me to find significance in my story, where for years I really didn't find significance because it was the only thing that I knew. My life is my life, so that's all that I know. I would, in the future, like for people to comment, to leave questions, to check me out on YouTube at just Prima, Pr1ma. I also would like for you to email me at Prima, Prima, @gmail.com. That way I can respond to your emails. I can respond to your questions and comments. Eventually, because I've gotten questions about, hey, when can we come on your show? We want to come on and we want to talk and we want to have conversations about this and that. So I have seen those emails. I have seen those inquiries. However, the first season, unless I'm led otherwise, will be me telling my story. Just like I was writing the book, I have been led to tell my story here as I would in a book. The book would definitely have more in it. I would like to know at some point those that would be interested in coming in with me to the studio in July, because I'm going to, one of my episodes, the next to the last episode for this season, I will have something called Candid Co-Ed Conversations. So this is just giving you a sneak peek. The Candid Co-Ed Conversations is something that I do with my friends and my family. We get together. I have the gentlemen to ask questions. We'll write down the questions. The women will write down questions. I am the MC. I ask the guys questions that the girls want to know, and girls questions that the guys want to know. However, that is what I'm going to do in the Candid Co-Ed Conversation. So if any of you are interested in that, please email me so that I can be getting a roster together of people that are interested in the Atlanta area. Comments, questions, suggestions. Your suggestions won't always be taken. Don't take it personal. Sorry, not sorry. And I look forward to seeing you next week. So again, thank you for sitting in. Thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to listen to who I am. And next week, you're going to find out who they say Prima is and how I show up in the world. So tune in. See you next week. Thank you. Jasmine from Mississippi asked, well, let me start over. Y'all know I'm a novice, unscripted, going live. My apologies. We're learning. I'm learning. So thank you for watching the first segment of this particular show, the interview, me talking about other things in my life. And right now I'm going to answer emails that I received concerning last week's show, or I guess about me. So my team gave me some questions to answer, and I think it's like 8. So I'm going to go from there. One of the people that viewed is Jasmine from Mississippi, and she asked, why did you put the 1 in in your name, and where did the logo come from? Well, I put the 1 in my name because Prima means number 1, the first, excellent, wonderful, and I am my mother's first child. And with me being her first child, that was her reason. She didn't know I was going to be maybe the best, but my siblings might not agree, but I do. So also the reason why I put the lips and the eyes is because I am telling my story through my eyes, letting the world know who Prima is. So, in my story. So that's the reason why I have the 1, and that's the reason why I put the logo the way that I did. The next question is from James in Carolina. With all the things you have experienced, what motivates you to keep going? Probably because I grew up in church. I received Jesus Christ at 3 years old with my grandmother, leading me through the sinner's prayer, telling me that God saves, God loves you, Jesus died on the cross. From that experience with my grandmother going to Christian school, I believe that everyone comes from something. I believe that there's always a story, and with the storyline, then that's the reason why people act or behave the way that they do. And I don't see things in black and white. I see things in gray. I believe that during the storm, that there has to be rainbows and sunshine somewhere or after. And whatever's in me, I'm an optimistic, not a pessimistic. I always try to be devil's advocate when I'm talking to my family and friends, like, well, maybe this, or what if that, or it could have been this, and maybe this happened. So that's just my personality, I guess, my makeup. And I'm really thankful that I was created that way, that I am not a negative person, and I don't give up hope. Even though I fall, I don't fail. I get back up and I start all over again. So that is what keeps me going. And when it comes to family, that's my family. So I'm loyal. I believe in loyalty and not giving up. I'm not a quitter. Quitters never win and winners never quit. So I hope I answered your question, James. The next question is from Tab in Snellville. Do you get to talk to your sons that are incarcerated? I do get to talk to my children that are incarcerated. We get to talk on the phone. They do video visitation. I can go see them when I can. During COVID, I couldn't see them because things were shut down, but I do talk to them. I still motivate them, encourage them. They encourage me. There are still times that I cry. There are times that I can tell that they're sensitive and maybe have some regrets. Of course, as a mother, you question some things. However, I do get to talk to my children on a regular basis, so I thank God for that. Modern technology and times being different than a long time ago, so I do. Mark from Atlanta, have you forgiven your dad that put you out? I have forgiven my dad that put me out. That is the only father that was a constant in my life. I always love him. I appreciate him for choosing to be my dad. The other person was my dad by default. You know, it only takes a few minutes to make a child. But the dad that raised me, he chose me. And I appreciate him for that. I will forever love him. And because I am loyal, I will always be there for him because he was a dad in my life. He was there for the talent shows. He was there for the doctor's appointments. He was there when I was Girl Scouts. He was the one that got me my first dog. He was there when I had my first baby. He was the one that gave me away at my weddings. So that is my dad. That is my dad that, you know, I was able to be me. Although he was mean and angry sometimes, as I stated before, I was always allowed to be me. And he always encouraged me directly or indirectly, but he also taught me a valuable lesson when I was hurt by my family. I was hurt by those closest to me. He told me that sometimes you have to make your friends your family, because your family, you know, you didn't have a choice, but your family will hurt you. So I have extended family all over the place that are not my blood family, but I love them just the same, and I am just as loyal to them. So yes, I have forgiven my dad. I love him. That's my daddy. That's my daddy, and that's my daddy. So I hope I answered your question, Mark. The next question is from D in Philadelphia. Besides working as a stripper, what else did you do? What other kind of work did you do? My first job, let me see if I can remember my job history. My first job was working at a hair salon with my cousin, who I was able to be the shampoo assistant. I was able to make tracks, help prep her clients for perms and other services. From there, I worked at RIB's in Atlanta. I worked there for a short period of time. I went on to work in a place called Underground Atlanta. It was Puff and Muffin, where they had muffins that you stuff with collard greens or sausage and cheese and stuff like that. From there, I went to do property management at 17. Going on 18, I did property management for years. From property management, I think I worked at the airport because I went to school to work in the medical field. At that point, I went to stripping, so we're going to skip that. I went on to be a teacher's assistant because I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but because of the politics in school, it made me not do that. I knew that wasn't for me. I went on to do hospice care, to do home health care, and on to the medical lab, back to property management, back to medical. I have sold makeup, I've sold perfume, I've sold juices that have healing powers, supposedly. So I did what I had to do to take care of my children. So, yes, Tennessee. This is Dante from Tennessee. I heard you say your mom died in Tennessee. I'm dealing with my dad about to die. Do you have any advice? It was very hard for me initially to imagine my mother transitioning before me because, as I stated before, I wanted to die before my mother and my grandmother. Take it. At 40, what I did was ask God to help me to have peace with my mother's will and God's will, because God wasn't going to honor my will. What I learned is that God was not going to honor my will for her life. God was going to honor for her. And as I asked for peace, I began to have peace. I cherished every moment with her every day. I talked to her. I told her how much I loved her, how much I appreciated her, how much she helped make me who I am and help create the resilience in me. Although she had tough love, I'm glad she had tough love when it came to me, and that she didn't pet me or make life easy for me. She made me who I am and helped make me who I am. And the survivor that's in me, she helped cultivate that. So that would be my advice. Just ask God to give you peace with whatever your Father's will is, knowing that on this side it's over here, but I believe I hear from my mother. My mother visits me once I got over the anger and the frustration. So I would say it's possible that you can experience the same if you believe that. So that would be my advice. Ashley from Florida, what legacy would you leave your children? The legacy I would leave my children is the same that I say to everyone here, is be true to yourself. To thine own self be true. When you go to bed every night, be comfortable with how you are. And if it's something that you didn't do right, just do better the next day. Try again. Show up being your best self. Like who you are when you look in the mirror. And you can't satisfy everyone. I remember being 17, 18 years old. I was married. My grandmother was in the home with us. And because that was my grandmother, who, again, I thought she had a throne up in heaven next to Jesus Christ, I believed everything she said was right. And it caused conflict with myself and my husband. And my husband had his opinion, and I began to be caught in the middle and felt like I was going to lose my mind. So then I started fussing and cussing. It was like, hey, that was your life. That's what worked for you. It's not working for me, blah, blah, blah. And I had to take a stand and say, hey, this is what works for me. That doesn't work for me, and I'm going to be true to me. And although I had done it in the past, because I had someone in authority that was speaking in my ear, I had to stand up at that age and continue to be that way. So I'm comfortable walking to the beat of my own drum. I'm going to be true to me. So that would be my legacy for my children and my grandchildren and anyone else, is be true to you, because at the end of the day, you have to answer for who you are and how you show up. Joyce in Atlanta. In all that you've been through, what makes you happy and what do you do for you? What makes me happy? What makes me happy is orange. Orange is my favorite color in the whole wide world. It makes me happy. It makes me go. Like my carnelian on here, I love orange. I love animal print. I like tie-dye. I like anything bright color, a pen, a marker, a shirt, a t-shirt. People that know me, my friends and family, know that if they give me anything orange, I'm going to be happy. An orange cup, an orange folder. I just love orange. Other things that make me happy is the water. I love water. If you look on my set, we're going to see if we can do this. I don't know if we can, but you've probably seen it before. On my set, I have a water fountain because I love, love, love water. Water helps me flow. It helps me express my feminine energy. I love incense, which is my incense. I have a backflow incense right here. I love bright colors. I also love sitting by the water. I like going to the river. I sit by the water. I actually spread my mother's ashes at a river that she used to take us to when we were children, when we were younger. I love fire, sitting by fire, probably because I'm a fire sign. And me being a fire sign, I'm an Aries. I'm a self-starter. I'm self-motivated. It calms me. Fire calms me. I like candles. I love music. Music makes me happy. Any kind of inspirational music. I love books. I love to read books that are motivational, inspiring, how to be a better me. Those are the books that I read. I don't read like romance or horror movies or mystery movies. I don't watch a lot of TV. And as much as people may think that I'm an extrovert, I am an introvert. So I have to spend a lot of time with myself, praying and meditating, doing the things that I just named that makes me happy and makes me go so that I can show up like this in the world. So I will end. I can't answer, but those are the questions that I can answer for tonight. What I would like to say is thank you for tuning in. Please tune in every week until further notice on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. I am on YouTube at just Prima, Pr1ma, and also at Caribbean Life TV. That way you can see me. Please send me any questions, comments. I am encouraging the feedback so I can be a better me. Again, I am a novice. Email me at imjustprima@gmail.com so that I can correspond with you. Eventually, I'll be able to have guests, but right now I am talking about my life. Hopefully, you can relate. I appreciate you and see you soon.